G'day everyone and welcome to the 34th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach and I'm joined by Disney's number one hater, Jaden.
G'day.
G'day.
Did that one sound weird? I feel like I fucking sounded weird there. I don't know. Alright, yeah, sure.
Well, were you the one that was drinking water?
Yeah,
right
I
then?
was. And I was hoping you'd go to Liam first, but you fucking went to me, so I was like, just quickly thought.
Quick.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume that was the reason. I would
Yeah.
assume, but... Okay. And he has risen, he has returned. Jesus Christ. A.K.A. Fitzy, A.K.A. Liam.
Hey.
Did you get a chance to listen to last week's episode, or at least chunks of it?
Yeah, I listened to some of it, not the spoilery parts, but...
Did you hear us slander you?
Yeah, I did. That's interesting.
How would you rate our performance from last week, Fitzy? What would you give it out of 10 without you?
No, I thought it was very good. I enjoyed the episode as a viewer. You know.
Oh, thanks.
I was a viewer
That's
last
nice.
week. I wasn't a person in, what do you call it? A contender
on the thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Give it 7, 8 out of 10.
Okay.
That's because you didn't hear. He didn't hear our full discussion. That's why it's low. Yeah, but if you heard the full discussion,
yeah, probably. If you heard all our amazing theories and in-depth spoiler talk,
yeah,
then maybe. But would you think that if you were on it, it would be a 9 or a 10? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, of course. I mean,
sure. I don't know if I can disagree with that, to be honest.
No, I mean, I enjoyed the episode.
Thanks. Well, for the uninitiated, everyone, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. I still get stumbled on that last one. I'm not used to adding it. But anyway, please subscribe and all those things if you enjoy the show. And I've got a new thing, okay, to say here. You can now visit ratethispodcast.com/cinema effect. Type that into your web browser and you'll get taken to a page to review Cinema Effect. Just leave a score out of 5. Give us a 5-star rating. If you leave us a 5-star rating, go to, once again, ratethispodcast.com/cinema effect. Leave us a 5-star rating. Helps the show grow. I'll read your 5-star rating on the show. Why would you do that, considering we read all the comments anyway? I don't know. But maybe you'll find some amusement in it. So cheers for helping us out. You can follow the Instagram page. You can submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comments section. But our specific question of the show will be very specific to our film this week. What is your favourite gangster film of all time? Let us know in the comments down below. We're going to be an expert on gangster films on Cinema Effect already after we finish this franchise. So this week we're talking about The Godfather Part 2. And this particular movie opened in the US on the 18th of September 1974. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It's a crime drama. And the synopsis is the early life and career of Vito, oh Lord, here we go again, Corleone, still inconsistent pronunciation, but that's fine, in 1920s New York City is portrayed while his son, Michael, expands and tightens his grip on the family crime syndicate. And that he does. How do we feel about this sequel to The Godfather? Is this more better regarded than the first one? Because I feel like I've heard that said before. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling all over the place today, guys. Is that the consensus in life? Do we know the answer to this? Because I was thinking about this a lot.
I think it's a number 4 on IMDb, which is 2 behind Godfather or something like that.
Okay.
So I mean, it's really high regarded, but I think the first one beats it out just.
Yeah.
Sure. So they're both right up there. Is the idea? Is the sentiment? How did we feel about this movie? Fitzy's the only one who'd seen it before, so I'll start with him.
It's great. I was like, well, I had a weird experience with it because I was invested in everything that was happening. I was into it, but by the end, I was sort of like, when the credits rolled, I was kind of like, is it exhausted a bit? It's a long ass movie and it's kind of a bit repetitive, I guess. But I don't know. I kind of in the last episode I said I like this better, but I kind of think I like the first one better now. But I still
Mm.
I like a lot of elements about this better. There's a lot of stuff that I love about this one, but like overall as an overall film, I think it's great, but not as great.
How about you, Jane? You had some choice words for it before we started.
Yeah. Look, I think I'll start off by saying I went into it with a bad taste because, seeing it had a 3 hour, 22-minute long runtime is just fucking insane. So I did go in a bit biased, but I tried to clear my mind as much as I can and, just take it for what it is. But, no, it was nowhere near as good as the first one. I was completely disinterested by Michael's further story. Vito's origin was kind of interesting. And I guess there were elements, I think there was beats where Michael's life became interesting, but in the last one we've talked about, confusing characters with each other and weird dynamics, and I didn't really feel that, but in this one I did, and I couldn't give a shit about, the new characters they bring up and how their relationships work and shit like that. So yeah, I really wasn't feeling this one.
Wow, yeah. I had an interesting experience with it too. As it was happening, dude, it is long. I was prepared for the 3 hour, 22-minute runtime just because I've been wanting to watch the movie for a couple years now, and I've always known that, and that's the thing that's always put me off about it. So I was well prepared mentally for that at least. But yeah, I like the movie a lot. I like it a lot. It didn't really come together for me until the credits hit. I think until that last minute or two of the movie. As it was happening, there was a lot of I thought the start was awesome. I was invested in that first half an hour. Everything that we get with Vito as a child transitioning back to Michael, getting the parallel to the first movie of Michael at this family function, hanging out with the politicians, etc. I thought all that was great. But then, yeah, it's when we start to kind of unravel the Michael side of the movie, the plot of the movie, with trying to discover who this traitor is and everything with Hyman Roth and everything. It loses me there. It then lost me when we go back to Vito and he's kind of just hanging around, not really doing anything for a while, and then he goes and kills the dude at the end, and I was like, cool. I thought there had to have been. I've heard so much about Robert De Niro's performance and his portrayal of young Vito in this movie, and I kind of thought that there had to have been something more than that. So I was waiting for us to go back to him, and we never do, and that's it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. So as it was happening, I would say that middle 2 hour chunk, I was just kind of I was enjoying it fine, but I was lost in it. I wasn't super engaged by it. But yeah, no, it wasn't until the final few moments when I think the movie it really became clear to me what the movie was about to me and what the film was trying to convey finally at that point. Because the whole time I'm like, what are we doing with Michael? What are we doing with Vito? What's happening? And it finally it clicked for me in the end. I was like, I get it, and that was satisfying for me as a viewer.
Sorry, what did you end up getting? Because maybe that's why I'm not getting what was there to get at the end? What clicked?
I think I enjoyed sitting there and just thinking about the movie and writing notes about the movie for 15 minutes after it was done. And I thought about the conversation that we had in the first episode, Jaden, and how I'd mentioned that so much of what I love about the first Godfather is that central arc of Michael in that movie and him becoming this leader of this crime syndicate and seeing that unfold from start to finish. And I think I mentioned in that episode something to the effect of I kind of saw that potentially as him becoming who he's meant to be or fulfilling his destiny or whatever the hell. And you countered that, Jaden, in that episode. And watching this movie, what clicked for me was, no, I was so wrong. Jaden was so right that this is a tragedy 100%. That this is definitely not trying to portray Michael's arc. You know, in this second movie, I think that it really is the heart of this movie is that this shit has just completely broken him. And I think that is the purpose of having the prequel Vito moments, even though it was, like I've said, it was kind of unclear in the moment why we were cutting back to him. But just seeing Michael completely soulless, I suppose, in this movie, and I think Al Pacino's performance really elevated that idea. I prefer his performance in the first movie 100% just because I really enjoyed seeing that transition from kind of charming army veteran to the Godfather. In this movie, he's very one note just the entire time. I am all in on this, and all these monologues, he's going to kill all these enemies and all this shit. And I think coming to understand that final shot and, well, specifically the transition from the flashback scene before he goes to war, transitioning into the final shot of him just staring blankly. I just felt that. I don't know, that connected with me emotionally and thematically to where I was like, dude, you've messed up big time. You've completely lost everything. You've lost your family. There is nothing for you in this life whatsoever. So that is what clicked for me, Jan. That is to answer your question, yeah.
Okay.
And that really did become clear when we got that flashback scene, which was my favorite scene in the movie.
Oh yeah,
the dinner table flashback.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes that scene particularly so great is Al Pacino in the scene, because I mean the first thing that gives away it's a flashback, obviously, is seeing Sonny again. He's hanging around, he's talking his shit. But then you get Al Pacino back sitting in that seat, and the contrast from the entirety of the rest of this movie, and he's obviously in the movie a shitload for this long ass movie, but seeing him immediately, I was like, oh look, it's young Michael again, because he doesn't look like he doesn't look like a ghost anymore. He doesn't look like he's depressed as hell. Yeah, that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Michael was like this in the first movie, and I drew the parallel from there. I thought that aspect of it was quite effective. So in that way, I do think this movie is very much just a continuation of Michael's arc, even though he doesn't undergo so much of a transformation in this film as he does the first one. It's more of a, I guess, maybe it isn't even an arc. Maybe it's just more of a, this is what happened to him in the first movie. Now let's analyze how this affects him in this movie. And I think looking at it that way, I think the movie does a good job of all that.
Yeah, hearing it laid out like that makes me rethink my assessment of it.
I mean, I'm glad that it connected for me like that in those final moments, just because if it hadn't, if I hadn't mentally been there in that headspace to draw those parallels, then I probably would have been on your side on this, Jane, 100%. I would have just been like, well, great. Did you just feel unsatisfied by everything at the end and just felt like it was sort of pointless? Because that's what I was feeling up until then.
Yeah, I just felt underwhelmed by the entire movie. I felt like it all just felt really pointless, kind of, in like the everything with Cuba and Roth, as you mentioned, and that bloke in New York, all the way up to the trial where it's just null and void because nothing really happens with that either. I mean, like it's just it's Michael's story just felt uninteresting this time. I think the only thing that I actually enjoyed was Fredo and that interaction and how that happens and that unfolds, and it feels like a whole lot of build up for not a lot of payoff, because I feel like the ending is just a rip off, not rip off because obviously, but it's just the first one just done less effectively, where we just get a load of people just getting popped off again,
Sure, yeah, that is definitely a fair comparison.
So it's just underwhelming. I think from a pure storytelling perspective, I still did kind of enjoy it, because I think that's one thing that the film did well. Just like the way it did storytell, but I guess I was just unengaged with it. It's really weird because I'm praising the storytelling, but I'm saying that I'm unengaged by it. So yeah, I don't know.
I understand that though, because I think the Hyman Roth stuff, purely from the plot perspective, and this is mainly in the first half, to be fair, but all the stuff there of the business deals going on, trying to figure out who's the traitor, the different associates, the Frankie dude back in New York, and his problem with Roth, and so on and so forth, all kind of building to the confrontation and the escape from Cuba. I can understand. I think that's all laid out well narratively. I think that's well told, but I can also understand why is this relevant though? Like, what is the purpose of this in the narrative other than just being a cool plot for a sequel?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The narrative is a weird thing with this one, just because while I was watching it, I also felt the narrative was a little bit disjointed, especially when we come back from the intermission and we get thrown. I love the what do they call, like the hearings that they're having, the court proceedings or whatever on the I don't know how the American justice system works. I don't know why there's like 5 people sitting up there, but those proceedings, those hearings they're having about the Corleone family, I thought that was cool stuff. It was just jarring. Like, they were just happening suddenly. We just cut to them, and I was like, well, what? I would have liked, I don't know, some story build up to that and some understanding of why these hearings are happening right now for them. In that way, I think the second half did sort of just feel like a random collection of scenes. Here's a hearing. Here's the Senate dude, the senator, whatever he was getting in bad situations. Cool. Michael's hanging out talking to his mum. It didn't really feel like the plot was flowing organically in the second half as much for me, even though the individual scenes were cool. Fitzy, we got to jump you in here. Have you got a standout something about the movie? Anything?
I really like the immigration scenes with the child Vito Corleone and the idealism that they see in America, and how that like contrasts with Michael's own story, Fall from Grace. But and like the connections that you made, I understood too, but still, it's kind of like the plot is more laborious and like drawn out and everything.
Yeah.
And there are also connections with like how, like the reason that Michael's deal doesn't work with the Cuban government is everything is because of the rebel uprising, which is kind of relates to how Vito's own backstory of being suppressed by the corrupt the town and its corrupt mob boss and stuff. So it's kind of like a parallel there, but yeah, still there's kind of a lack of just like the first one has this just amazing building tension that the second one doesn't have as much, and yeah, it's bloody long as well. So
we'll proceed to mention that 5 more times, I think. But in that way, I think that's a great way to put it, because this movie, it did feel like a book sort of to me, especially with cutting between the Robert De Niro scenes and back and forth. And when you entered the intermission into that second half, you kind of did feel like the story did fundamentally change its focus. And in that way, yeah, I did feel like it was kind of a collection of chapters where you're right, there wasn't really a building tension, there wasn't a through line as there is in the first one. It didn't really feel as though there was anyway. Whereas this is just kind of a grander story, definitely a more plotting one. But I feel like it has a bit of a larger scope, maybe. And
oh yeah,
I don't know if I don't really think I like that anymore. I think I'm with you guys. I think I prefer the first one. But
yeah,
it's something different, at least, and it does kind of give the movie a different vibe.
I think I said in the first video that the first one is more like essential, just because in that one you actually get Michael's full arc, and you get to see how Al Pacino's amazing acting there, starting from the normal person soldier, to this crime boss, and this movie is just kind of like it's an extension of that, but you get the full thing in the first one. Yeah.
I mentioned the previous one, like how I love the characters and how I could actually support them. But in this one, I couldn't support any characters. They all just felt like shells, I mean, like, I think obviously we're meant to feel that with Michael to an extent, because, to show what, 7 years as a 7 years as a Godfather has done to him, whatever it is. But even, characters like Tom Hagen are just tossed aside as, like Kay and, his sister and, whatever else. And like I said before, I think Fredo is like my favorite part, because he's the only one that actually feels like his character was built upon in this film,
Totally. I was very surprised by how Fredo was used in this movie. Considering I remember in the first review, I was literally like, does Fredo exist? Like, I couldn't even remember that there was another brother. And in this movie, he really is the primary, secondary character in that Michael storyline. I liked all that stuff a lot, and the way it built to obviously him getting popped was, I don't know. I was going to say satisfying, but it wasn't. It was well set up. I guess is where the satisfying part comes into play. But it was also like I felt like when Michael did that, I watched like the last piece of his soul die, which I kind of think relates back to his primary concern, at least in the second half of the movie, seems to be about his family and what his actions and his leadership has kind of done to it, because he has the conversation with his mother. What do they say exactly? Something along the lines of, to be strong for this family, am I going to lose? Am I going to lose it? And that's essentially what happens. So yeah, that kind of plays into the whole the tragic side of it, and I thought that was all well done. But yeah, Tom Hagen, dude, I love Tom Hagen, as we know, and he's in the movie a lot, but
it doesn't feel like it though. I mean, like,
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I can't really think of anything he did other than kind of just stand there and talk to Michael for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, he took over, like, quote unquote, while Michael pissed off for a bit, but
that was weird.
And he cleaned up like the senator's mess or whatever that was, but like he really didn't feel present at all.
No, yeah, that was strange when on the first attempt on Michael's life, and Michael has the conversation to him of like, "I'm going to leave you in charge." And I was like, "Yo, this is sick," and then that kind of just gets ignored, and I was just kind of left to draw. Oh, that was just for a little bit of time, I guess. So that was strange. I would have loved to have seen more of Tom. You mentioned the opening stuff with young Vito Fitzy. I love that stuff too. I was very surprised when the movie opened with the text kind of setting the scene for us. I thought it was cool though. I wasn't expecting anything like that. And then him traveling to America, seeing him go through the immigration process, I thought that was all really well shot actually, like the sets they had there for that. Shitloads of extras. And yeah, when they're all looking at the Statue of Liberty, I thought that was all super well done. I don't really understand why Vito's name was changed. Did he have like a Star Wars story moment?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking, oh, is this where Solo gets it from? Because it's like, oh yeah, you're from Corleone, Vito Corleone.
Yeah, but like they actually had his last name on the tag.
That's the weird thing.
They said, Vito Andalucci, whatever the fuck it is, and he's still like, yeah, that Corleone's decent.
He just like changed his name because he thought it sounded better or something.
Yeah.
But then yeah, we get the starts with that parallel. I think that pretty deliberate parallel to the first movie. Michael's very firmly. At this point, it's like 5 years after the first one, right?
I think it's 7.
Kay says something about that. Oh yeah, no, that's right. She does say that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought that was a cool parallel, cool way to start establishing Michael firmly in this position now in the family. Kay mentions that they're not legitimate still, so just set the scene for us for the movie. I enjoyed all that stuff. That didn't feel like it dragged really at all. Let's talk about Robert De Niro in the movie. We cut to him for the first time. His story primarily takes place like in 1917, 1918 sort of area, New York, and dude, the gotta say, the set design for that past version of New York was insane. I was very impressed by all that. We get the first shot of that was a pretty long shot, kind of just taking us through that set. I felt like I was getting a set tour. It was great. I was very impressed by that. But yeah, so Robert De Niro kind of just hangs out with his Italian mates for a while in New York, and we see how they're under the oppression of, or in the neighborhood of this. Dude, I don't know. Do you guys know his name? The mobster at that time.
Finucci, I think it was.
Finucci, yeah, sure.
Or Fauci? Finucci.
Fauci. I think that's right. Yeah, we had Fauci there.
Wait, that's the doctor.
I was like, okay.
Oh, no, that's a doctor for that. That's no, I think it's Finucci.
Oh. Yeah, that's the US doctor guy. No, but it was something like that though, right? It was like an F.
I'm pretty sure it's Finucci. Let me quickly take a pic.
Yeah, have a look. You're right. It was something close to that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's also got the black hand or something.
The black hand, yeah.
I always thought that when Vito goes to the theater and he sees the girl, that was going to be the wife. And
That was weird.
watching this, I thought, oh yeah, that's going to be his wife. And then
Even the second time.
and that's the last thing you see of the story.
Yeah, it's Finucci.
What was the guy who was in Corleone? That mobster? I thought he.
Chicho. Or Chichio. I think it's just Chicho.
Oh, yeah. That's right. It's funny you say that, though, Fitzy. On this same train of thought, it did sort of feel like there was stuff cut out of this movie a little bit, right? Like with I read in the trivia, I didn't note it down. I read that there was a subplot with Tom Hagen and how I think he had because in the movie they mentioned he has a mistress, and there was apparently scenes of that or something, and they cut it out. It felt like this movie was a little disjointed at times because you're right. The whole thing with that actress, I thought that was totally setting something up for something, but.
I also feel like we skipped a lot of Vito's story. I mean, like, we go from a child to a young adult pretty fast. I would like to see a bit more of his teen.
Particularly the main jump that was jarring for me. Like I didn't mind so much. Like he arrives in America and now he's working in America. That I didn't mind that as much. To what you're speaking to, it was strange for me to see him kill the mob boss who was oppressing the neighborhood, which was a totally cool scene. I like that a lot when he like wraps the tail around the gun and he goes on that whole chase little bit there in the parade to end the first half of the movie. I like that a lot. And it made total sense. Obviously, that's kind of his whole thing. His whole character backstory is I had to leave my hometown because of a mobster. So he takes revenge in that way. Cool. And then it was weird to see him in the next scene as like a mobster. And if there was something in the movie to make that make sense of why he would want to become a mobster himself, I did not see it.
I think the music in that scene built his actions up to be a bit too heroic. It was very. I mean, I get like he's kind of doing like a justice for the neighborhood in that sense, but it's still. It's not a heroic act, and he's not becoming a hero in doing so either, or something like that. It's like that's my issue with that scene.
With the character they were setting up, it felt like a weird choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know he becomes a mobster from that's literally the character in the first movie. But I would have thought heading into the movie that we were going to get some explanation. I was surprised from the start that mobsters drove him away from his home, so I figured, okay, we're going to have to get an explanation of why he actually becomes one of them. But
that's what I was going to say, because he takes issue with Finucci because he's an Italian that oppresses other Italians, and that's the kind of the first thing that he notes and he doesn't like about him. Yet that's the exact role he becomes, and like you're saying, we don't really get an explanation enough for that.
Absolutely, and it would make, I think, a lot of sense if it was sort of a parallel to Michael's arc. In the first movie, he talks about not wanting this life for Michael at all, and it would make sense if he'd kind of gone through that himself, of being sort of seduced by, like, understanding how terrible the mobster life is, but still kind of being seduced by it in some way. I don't really know. And then having that same sort of thing happen to Michael and seeing that play out as a parallel from what Michael is experiencing from that in this movie and then going back to him in the flashbacks here. I think that could have been cool. Yeah, but you're right. That arc doesn't exist. It's kind of skipped over. It's weird.
I think the first hit kind of does parallel because, he does it for his friends or his family or whatever, as Michael did in the first one. But then, it kind of dovetails away from what it should have told from there.
It's like you skip a step.
Yeah.
How do we feel about Robert De Niro in the movie? Am I wrong in saying this is like a super highly regarded performance from him?
He did win an Oscar for it, didn't he? Or was nominated at least?
He did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so going in, I was expecting a bit more. I mean, like, I can't really speak to the intricacies of performance, not because as not a very, very well-versed actor myself, I can't really tell, but, it didn't seem like it was, It
didn't seem like anything crazy. I didn't think it was disappointing at all. I just thought it was kind of, maybe it is just an expectations versus reality thing of, I've heard people talk about this performance and I watched it and I was like, okay, that was fine, I guess.
Mm.
I think it has nothing on even Marlon Brando's performance from the first movie, and I think Al Pacino is way better than Robert De Niro even in this movie, and I still prefer him in the first one.
Yeah. But John Cazale's acting as Fredo is really great in this film.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. Was a great actor.
Yeah, great shout. It was sad to see everything with him, I think, because his whole thing is that he just really was dumb, I guess, which sounds funny to say, but it actually works emotionally, I think. Because he really meant no harm whatsoever. Was just trying to play his part. Was just trying to become more independent, which made perfect sense with the first movie where he's totally forgotten. And he wants to be put in the spotlight more, and it really just backfires for him big time. And yeah. I totally understand where Michael's coming from. I totally understand why Frodo would be desperate to reconnect with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not malevolent. He's not. Maybe he was part of the thing to try and kill Michael, but like, he still feels innocent, you know.
Yeah, he does totally.
So I think that's definitely the best part of that film is their relationship.
Yeah, I was really disappointed when he died because, Carmela is his sister's name, right? You know, she asked Michael to re-accept Fredo, and then like he does, and then it's emotionally like it's going to be all cool. But then,
yeah. Why do you think this was something I was thinking? Why do you think Michael does accept him for that little period of time? Like he does see him and he does talk to him, but then ends up killing him anyway.
To get his sister back, maybe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. See, I think this is the first movie I've seen that had an intermission, to be honest. You've probably seen a ton, Jaden.
Not a ton, but a few, yeah.
I had no idea it had an intermission. Because I didn't expect it to because the first one didn't. And when it came up, I was like, oh, wow, this is like a...
Yeah.
It's like a tick for me off my list of things I've seen now. I've seen an intermission in a movie.
Well, 2001 is a lot shorter than this, but it has an intermission. But then, you look at some other stuff and it doesn't, or the same length. I guess it's just, a testament to the time period it was made in, whether, they wanted it there or not.
Yeah, I suppose so. Thank God it's there, though, dude. If I was watching this in a movie, in the cinemas rather in 1974, I'd friggin' want an intermission so badly, so thank you for putting that in.
Yeah.
Didn't end this time.
I was really confused, like, the first time I saw an intermission as well, because, like, I think my first one was 2001, and, like, it was just in the DVD, and it pops up for a minute and then, like, fucks off, so I was like, alright, sick. But then, like, when they released, like, when they did the 4K re-release, and, I went to the cinemas to watch it, like, the intermission actually lasts, like, that 15 minutes, and, like, it's a proper break. I was like, oh, right, yeah, obviously.
Oh, wow, that's cool. What are some other top scenes in the movie?
I think Cuba was cool, but just weird. Like, I maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough because of, like maybe I was just disinterested, so I didn't quite grasp everything. And, like, when Michael first talks about the rebels, there's obviously something there, and like I kind of picked up on that, but I never really fell with. I never really followed through with it, and I think that just comes from my lack of engagement in it. It's like, what was because I think you briefly mentioned it earlier, but what was the significance of the rebels?
I think like the fact that Robert De Niro's story is that he's the rebel in that story, and his friends are the rebels going against the corruption. It's kind of like they're on opposite ends now. Like Michael is now the corruption, and he's going against the rebels, and the rebels beat him just like Vito bit the power of the time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the line was like, the soldiers are paid, and that's why they can lose, because the rebels are the ones with actual, conviction from all their oppression and all that.
Yeah.
Instead of just simple, monetary gain or whatever.
We haven't talked about Michael's family life, really, in terms of Kay.
The movie doesn't talk much about the family life either.
But I actually thought that worked to his favour, though.
Yeah.
Because I think that was, the idea of when Kay shows back up and we get the whole abortion scene, or the conversation around that. I thought that was really effective, because I had sort of forgotten about Kay as the audience member, and clearly Michael had too. and that's literally her point. So I thought that was pretty effective. I was shocked by her saying that. I was like, wow, Jesus, that's crazy. So that put me directly in Michael's shoes, where he basically, blast him for not paying attention and ignoring them and all that, neglecting them. And I felt that because I felt like I was neglecting them too. Obviously not by choice. I don't have agency in the film, but
I would have liked to see the deterioration of the relationship a bit more. I think because it feels like they went from loving to nothing, without much to show it. I mean, obviously, we're meant to pick up on it and like the focus on Michael and how little he engaged with them, so we're meant to get in that sense. But I think I would have liked a bit more of, interaction, like actual interaction, like deterioration there.
I would have liked that. I would have liked that too, for sure. I think the first movie, though, like that ending of the first movie, him shunning her out,
is showing that, yeah.
It's enough for me.
Yeah.
It's like, this is doomed now, is kind of what I get from that. So to see it already in that state, like, sure, I wouldn't have minded a bit of a transition either, but it wasn't as much of a missing piece, I think, as what we were talking about earlier with Vito.
Mm.
And dude, Al Pacino's obviously, really good in that scene as well when he's yelling at her. I mean, they're both really good in the scene, obviously.
Fitzy, there was a bit more of a score this time. Were you happy with that?
Oh yeah,
It wasn't just the same theme repeated.
I was thinking about when they especially Vito's stuff. There was a lot of variety. But I don't know. I kind of think the first one's still better in terms of score in a way, just because the score is so like in tune with the rest of the movie. Not to say it's not here, but
yeah. In saying that, yeah, like the first one feels like it really has a style to it. It has, it's really in sync, in tune, like you were saying, visually, musically, everything like that. But whereas this one doesn't, it feels a lot less coherent, And I think that comes with the larger scope that you were talking about earlier, because we've got Las Vegas and Cuba and Florida, New York, now and then. And Italy as well, and it just feels like it gets lost in all its places,
Yeah, sure. Did you guys know that keep your friends close but your enemies closer comes from this movie?
Does it?
Really?
It does. I was shocked by that because I was reading through trivia, and one of the trivia was like, "Keep your friends close but your enemies closer" is considered the 50th best quote in film, and I was like, "What? Like, are you telling me, isn't that just like a common thing people have said for hundreds of years?" And I Googled it, and apparently it came from this movie.
That's insane.
I was shocked. That is something that is, like, penetrated all aspects of life in every way in the English language, that it's like a testament to how good the line is that I didn't even understand that this screenplay,
I thought
it's
that
original
was
to it.
some like Confucius or like Art of War shit. I was like, I was confused. This is like, East Asian 1400s or some shit like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Did someone say trivia? To prepare for his role, Robert De Niro lived in Sicily for 3 months. Wow. Because he spoke Sicilian in the movie a lot. So, yeah.
There's a lot more Italian in this movie than the first one, wasn't there?
Yeah, shitload more. Shitload more. Oh yeah, okay. No, I wanted to bring up the final scene again because I love it so much. All right, the final flashback, that is. Trivia connecting into this though. Marlon Brando was scheduled to return for a cameo in the flashback at the end of the film, but because of the way Paramount treated him during the first film, he did not show up for shooting on the day the scene was meant to be filmed. Francis Ford Coppola rewrote the scene without Vito, and it was filmed the next day. I thought he was going to walk in. I thought Marlon Brando was going to walk in to that scene. I'm glad he didn't though. I think the scene kind of worked out the better for it, to be honest.
I think Marlon Brando's pretty notorious for that, isn't he? Not turning up to
just like not turning up,
not reading shit. Like
oh yeah, when he was reading the cards in the first one.
Oh right, yeah, but for Apocalypse Now, which is also Francis Ford Coppola, he like said he'd read the book and everything, Heart of Darkness, but he didn't, and he read it like the night before or something, and he like friends. Coppola turned up to his house and he just started to improvise the role. So he was very like what do you call it? Like spontaneous, I guess.
Sure, yeah. But no, I do want to. I want to mention the final scene again, just because I love the contrast with Al Pacino's performance. Like I mentioned, how much happier he is, and just seeing that contrast between spots and places in time for that character, because he chooses obviously to enlist in the war. Everyone's pissed off at him, except Fredo, which is even more devastating, by the way. Which is a great little narrative choice. Sonny's pissed at him. Obviously, everyone's like, "I think old mate Vito's going to be pretty pissed at you, bro." So that's kind of sad that everyone sort of shuts him down and they all run off to sing happy birthday to Vito. But that shot for me of Michael just sitting alone at the table was quite effective, because I think in that entire scene you can see how much visibly more fulfilled and satisfied and happy as a human being he is at that point in his life. That he feels like he's being true to himself and, making his own choices and defending his country like he wants to do. And then for them all to leave him and then cut back to the present day, it was like, oh, wow, he really lost his way there. He lost, he really just ended up, exactly like his father, following those footsteps. And really his father kind of links back to the tragedy, kind of led him down that path, even though he apparently didn't want him to end up being in the crime life. That was, I don't know. It all worked for me. It was all pretty depressing shit. So I thought it was an emotional note to end the movie.
Yeah, I thought it would end on that flashback scene there, him sitting alone at the table, because I thought that like it's pretty obvious what the flashback scene was going for. I didn't think they needed the zoom into his depressed face on the chair. I think they could have just ended that. But whatever.
That's a good point. There's always a balance, I think, when you're structuring a film, of thinking about what you're trying to convey to the audience and how hard you go at, either shoving it in your face or being very subtle. And that's obviously, a balance with so many in-betweens and middle grounds there to figure out. And yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that could have been cool, but it worked for me too. I think that final shot does stick with me a little bit as well. So I could go either way on that one, to be honest. Yeah, it's a tricky sort of thing to strike the balance of, because you're not wrong. It is already sort of obvious, and then they, like, in case you didn't realize, look how sad he is.
The thing is, I think it probably does work because it's a sadness for a different reason. I mean, like, he's sad in the the first part for because they're disapproving of his actions, whereas now he's disapproving of what he's become of himself. So I think it does. I think it does work. And it's interesting. I wonder if Brando did show up for that day on set. I wonder if they would have shown him, like, getting behind Michael. Because, like,
weird. Yeah, exactly.
Because he does say that I didn't want this life for you, so maybe he would have encouraged him to take that war path.
I wonder what that scene would have been otherwise. Because if you think, if it was just like Marlon Brando, would it have been extended? Would it have been Marlon Brando walking into the scene and they say something else or some bullshit? Because the note they leave it on was good enough. It was great. So, one final check. I am curious as to where this goes in part 3. I know it's not as well regarded, so I haven't got my expectations super high or anything. But I mean, at the very least, just want to know what happens to Michael. And I think that's a solid enough thread.
Is part 3 as long as this one?
No, it's shorter than the first one, I think.
Oh, epic.
I think it's 240, if I remember correctly. I looked it up the other day.
Very epic.
This is the universe we're living in, where 2 hours 40 minutes. Oh shit! Thank God, it's so short.
I'm not against long movies, but I mean, like, at least fucking do it well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I am against long movies, so. All right. Final verdicts for The Godfather Part 2. Jaden, begin.
Yeah, probably a 6. No, maybe a 5. Nah, probably 6. Yeah, 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Fitzy?
I'll give it a 7.
Damn. I was going to give it an 8 the whole time. I thought it was great. I thought the ending. I think the ending is terrific. I think it's phenomenal. But now, and I think it did leave everything on a powerful note for me, and that drew me to the 8. But yeah, there are narrative weird issues for me throughout the entire thing, and I'll give it a 7 with the caveat that I think it's very good. And I'd love to rewatch it and potentially give it a higher score another day. All right, let's get into news chat. Not a whole lot this week. We got Oscar Isaac is apparently in talks to star as Moon Knight. This is this Moon Knight Disney Plus show that Marvel is doing as part of the MCU. Oscar Isaac apparently is in that. I mean, I love me some Oscar Isaac. I don't know anything about Moon Knight whatsoever, at all. Do either of you?
He's supposed to have like a similar demeanor to Batman, isn't he? And like is that right?
I mean,
am I right in saying that?
I don't know, but that sounds awesome. No ideas, Fitzy?
Did you say Ryan Gosling?
No, Oscar Isaac is Moon Knight. Do you know anything about Moon Knight?
I can't say that, do you know?
No, okay, yeah, cool. Well, hey, if it's an Oscar Isaac playing like a Batman thing, I'm not going to complain about that. Moon Knight, actually, that makes sense, like the Dark Knight. Oh, that's like an obvious parallel, I guess.
But Moon Knight wears white and Batman wears black, so...
Well, they have to be different in some really obvious way.
Mm.
Anyways, we got a Halloween Kills teaser. This is another... Well, this is like a sequel to the rebooted Halloween, but of course just another Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. How did you feel about this teaser, Jaden, as our Halloween expert, sort of?
I've only seen 2 of the films.
That's why it's sort of. We've seen none of them, I think. Oh, no, Fitzy saw the first one this week. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, it looks fine. It looks to follow up with what the first remake did, rather. And if that's what it is, then I'm keen for it. I love the remake a lot. Yeah, and if it follows along with that tone and that, iconic Carpenter score and, that same type of direction, and, I'm keen for this one.
Halloween Kills is a cool title as well.
Mm.
Are you gonna talk about Halloween in your highlights, Fitzy, or not?
Probably.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'll let you do that then.
Oh, thank you, sir.
That's okay. Oh, well, would you look at that? It's time for our highlights of the week. Fitzy, what have you been watching?
Permission, if we can talk about it, I think.
My highlight of the week is Halloween.
Oh, okay. Right. I thought you were going to say something else.
It's really good. The plot is really basic though. Like pretty much bare bones. I could summarize it in like 10 words. But the score and the it was good. It was good, but it wasn't amazing.
I kind of have a similar feeling, I think, to you, where you can recognize it's a good film and you can respect what it's done for the genre, but as a modern viewer, you just can't get behind it fully.
Very good. Jaden, are you going to talk about The Thing?
I don't know, because do you want to talk about The Thing or do you want to talk about subsequent movie film?
I'm not going to talk about subsequent movie film. I'm tossing up between The Boys and The Thing.
Do you want to talk about The Thing together?
Well, I want to I love this. So like, I don't know. Well, what you can choose your official submission if you want to hear me talk about The Boys or whatever. I don't,
Yeah, no, I'll chat about the Thing.
Sure.
It's pretty great. I mean, it's just fucking pure terror, isn't it? It's I mean, like
sure.
It's like paranoia and shit like that. Like that fucking really strikes you at the heart, doesn't it? I mean, like it's just really fantastic on pretty much every level. I think by the end of it, it does get a bit repetitive in its plot beats of we can't really trust him. But I think that's like my only issue. And I think score is brilliant. It's so fucking undulating and smooth and perfect and fucking
score's awesome.
Just fucking schmick, And like, I mean, characters aren't really that interesting. I mean, like, you know, you've got your typical cowboy pilot Han Solo rip-off shit. But I mean, like, you know, I'm not really watching this for my characters. Like the practical effects are phenomenal, like truly phenomenal,
dude.
And like, yeah, like I said, it was just fucking pure terror. Like that scene where that bloke's like half turning into the thing, and like he's run out into the snow, and like he just screeches, like that just fucking stabs you right in the heart, you know. Yeah, I thought the thing was pretty great.
Awesome. Yeah, I watched it this week too. I liked it a lot too. I can't get over those friggin' the practical effects of even just the corpses primarily for me. Just those whatever those geniuses that created those things, they were just disgusting and awful, and they were awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really love the story that much. Not that, you know, not it's trying to tell an amazing narrative, but I just mean in terms of the way the movie progresses. And this is the most ignorant statement of all time. I totally understand that. Please do not. But like, I had no idea what the movie was about at all. And then when it became clear what was happening, I'm like, oh, this is Among Us. And obviously, I understand that the inspiration is totally the opposite. But I just thought that was funny for me. I was like, oh, I understand what Among Us is now and where that came from. I did not get that.
Remember we were asking about, like, you asked a few weeks ago, like, you know, when are they going to make an Among Us movie? And I said it already exists in the thing.
Oh shit! You did say that. I'd forgotten right up until this moment that conversation happened. Yeah, I should have been more prepared then. Oh well. But yeah, no, I liked all the stuff. You know, obviously trying to figure out who's the imposter, right? And all the stuff that McCready was doing with the blood samples, and you know that was all cool stuff. I don't know. The ending didn't really do anything for me. They just kind of blew up the whole thing. I was like, cool. And then when old mate McCready and Keith David sit there, and one of them. I mean, we know McCready's not the thing, obviously, but the other dude might be the thing.
Well,
and then the movie just ends.
How do you know McCready's not the thing?
Well, do we? Well, we're with him the whole time. Is that? Oh, really? I didn't even thought about this at all.
You're not with him the whole time.
That's true, but he does act. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a given. He does actively, like, destroy it and succeeds, or, like, you know, blows up the whole base. We're with him in that whole final act as he's terrified of and fighting the thing. So I don't know why he would do that if he.
He's just sabotaging the other imposter to make him seem clear, you know.
But I think
it's really strategic.
Earlier in the film, there are people that fight the thing when they're also the thing. I can't remember exactly.
Is that true?
I can't remember exactly, but I think so. But the larger point of the ending is that, like, if he's the thing, it doesn't really matter either way because they're both fucked. And
yeah,
he gives them the drink at the end, which is what he does to the computer at the very start, which signifies that the other guy might be the thing.
Didn't they say that they? I swear to God, there's lines where they say they have to make sure they destroy it because otherwise, if it's left to just freeze, then it can be dug up again in years to come. Yeah. Don't they say that?
Yeah, that's why I thought they should just, like, throw themselves on the fire anyway, just like end it there, just in case there is that chance, you know.
Well, yeah, that's my thing with the ending. Yeah. It's that, like, I get that, you know, as individuals they're both screwed, but that would work for me in a Hateful Eight sort of way if I knew they both weren't the thing, and I was like, wow, they just went through shit to do that, and now they're screwed. Good for them. What a sacrifice or whatever. But now, like, that Keith David could be the thing, I'm left with, like, okay, so that whole thing might have just been pointless. Cool. That's what my brain immediately jumped to.
Yeah, your brain's fucking wrong, isn't it?
I don't know what you're saying there.
Well, if they were concerned about the thing freezing again and just coming back in years to come, and Keith David was the thing, and they're just sitting there, and they're just going to die there, like, the thing wouldn't die there, right? It would just freeze, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So therefore, it would be pointless, and in hundreds of years, it could. Oh, actually, they did say hundreds of thousands of years. To be fair, I think it was when the spaceship originally crashed. But whenever it is, so I guess no. Yeah, to be fair, that's true. Like, oh, hang on,
no, because when the rescue
team
comes, the
100%, the rescue team
will recover their body, take them back to a warm place, you know, or some shit. and it'll upgrade. And that's why, like, it becomes, it's going to spread no matter what if the two of them are, infected. So they should just kill themselves in there.
I was really enjoying the movie, but like when the final shot hit, I was just like fucking mind blown because it's like, yeah, they're fucked. Like the whole world is fucked no matter what. It's like Reservoir Dogs and The Hateful Eight, which Tarantino said are big influences of this film, try to go for that final hit as well, try to kind of replicate it, but it's just so amazing in this film, the last scene and everything about it. It's just like leaves you cold,
No, I didn't get that at all. It was definitely my least favorite part of the movie. Why? So, do you disagree with our point that it could just render the whole thing pointless? I guess.
Well, I think we see the same thing, but that's why it's brilliant. I think because like the last shot is like a wide shot of the whole thing and just the destruction that's caused, and they're just sitting there,
So wait, but like the idea that humanity could be messed up is
like them or the whole humanity, but it just gives that sense of like they're doomed. There is doom that's happening.
Now that you say that, Fitzy, that is I consider that perspective. That makes sense. It's a shame. Yeah, my brain did not jump to that whatsoever. My brain was like immediately like logical side of things, which is kind of I feel like I don't do that often actually. But for some reason, in the moment, I was like, wait, but humanity. I was like, you're screwed though.
Yeah, no,
which is a shame.
That's what I'm saying. I'm seeing the same thing as you from the logical side of it. That's what made it so effective for me.
Oh no, sorry. I understand that you understand. I understand that you understand that, but I'm just saying the fact that I thought that got in the way of me enjoying it, as opposed to you that being what you enjoy about it.
Oh, okay.
If you know what I mean. Yeah.
But like, just trying to figure out the whole timeline of infection is like a great part of the movie because it's kind of vague and you can kind of figure out things for yourself.
I just think even that first time we just see the dog walking around is so terrifying because at that point as the audience we've identified that there's something wrong with the dog. We pretty much we get that straight away. So then seeing the way that it's just left to wander around the base and it just slips it just slips into that room. That's that's brilliant too. I think there's so many standout moments. There's so many things that stick in my head from it.
Oh yeah, I guess I actually have to say now. I watched The Boys. I finished it. Jaden, have you finished it yet? Did I beat you?
No, you bet me. I've only watched 2 episodes since we last spoke.
Sick. I beat your ass. I finished season 2, and yeah, it's great. It's consistent. I think it's overrated, to be totally honest. I don't think I really said that last time. I kind of always felt that. I feel like on a surface level, everyone talks about how much they love it. But if you really break it down, I think it's really clear that certain storylines are way more interesting than others. Everything with Homelander is god tier shit the entire time. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, yes, please. Anthony Starr is unbelievable. All of his scenes are sensational. But particularly when it relates to the boys themselves, that team, a lot of their character dynamics didn't work for me the whole season. Didn't really work for me the whole season 1 either. Some of them are better towards the end and kind of pay off in cool ways, but it's not overly consistent in that regard. But in saying that, the quality of the show, in being inconsistent, the quality of the show is consistent through both seasons. Which is a sentence right there. But yeah, no, season 2 was great. I'd recommend people watch it. It's not sensational. I wouldn't say it's like a 9 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's like must-watch television necessarily. But I understand why the buzz is there for it. I think it's really entertaining stuff.
I saw a comment regarding like season 1 and season 2, and it's like and just about like its themes and how it presents them. It's like if season 1's a parable, then season 2's a sermon. And just from watching it, and just after from seeing half of season 2, it does feel like a lot more on the nose, and like to the point where, like, you know, they're kind of slapping you in the face with some of the shit they want to comment on, you know. And like that's one thing I've noticed from watching half of that.
Really, in terms of what exactly, like the corporate stuff?
Just with like the messages they want to convey. I mean, like, you know, like in season 2, they've shifted to like, you know, this like, you know, race a bit more,
Oh,
and
sure,
like, you know,
sure.
and like that, like,
Nationalism, etc.
yeah, and like that stuff is a lot more on the nose than what, you know, season 1. You know, it's stuff about like anti-big corporation shit is a bit, you know, it's still very prevalent, but it tells it in a more clever way, you know.
That's true. No, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I agree. Have you watched any more of it, Fitzy?
No, I'm still season 1. I agree that
Cool.
Homelander is the best part of the show.
He is the entire time, in my opinion.
I don't reckon.
You don't think so?
Nah, I love the scenes with the boys. I reckon they're fantastic. I really disagree with your. I think their character dynamics is brilliant.
I like their character dynamics. I didn't. It's specific. I'm more specifically talking about like the Frenchie storyline with Kamiko. It doesn't do a lot for me.
Right. No, I still like it a lot.
I like their cool. I mean, I like their scenes and their dynamic and their dialogue exchanges a lot. I just meant more from like those subplots specifically.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's time to hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what's your favourite Star Wars movie and why? And I would have liked more answers, but oh well. Lockie wrote in and said Revenge of the Sith is undoubtedly no debate the best Star Wars movie ever made. Not much needs to be said, really. It's an objective fact. I'll just leave that one hanging. Luke said, A New Hope is my favourite Star Wars movie. Cantina music is iconic. It's a great start and finish to a story. Alec Guinness is great. There are many quotable moments. Sure, yeah. Thanks, Luke. A New Hope is great. It's my second favourite, of course, but everyone knows The Empire Strikes Back is my favourite movie of all time, so therefore it is my favourite Star Wars movie. Because it's that damn good.
Well, Zach, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but what was the first time you like watched the originals and like loved them for the first time?
No, dude, I don't even know if I could tell you, to be totally honest. It's just ingrained in me. There was no point, really, that I was like, oh, I watched the original trilogy for the first time when I was 9. Like, I remember by the age of 5, I was already watching, like, the Hoth battle scene, the Battle of Hoth, like, on repeat. So at that point, I'd already definitely seen the original trilogy. So that gives you an idea, I guess. But yeah, when was the first time you saw him?
Pretty late, actually. I think I only saw him first time. Actually, that's not true. I think I saw the Empire Strikes Back sometime earlier. Yeah.
Okay. See, now you understand this is why I'm just so biased. Like, I don't have any...
It's entrenched in your childhood.
Exactly, in my DNA. But Jaden, what's your answer to this question?
Bit sacrilegious, but Rogue One.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. I was tossing up between Return and Rogue One, but I think Rogue One is my favorite one. I don't know why I deny it. I think it's great. I think like it's what I want from Star Wars, really. You know, like I love the heroes arcs of like, you know, the original trilogy, and you know I love what the prequels do, but I love the tragedy of Rogue One. You know,
that is a terrific answer. God, I love Rogue One. I'll never forget seeing it day one in the theaters. After school in 2016, dude, that was one of my favorite cinema experiences I've ever had in my life. Just sitting in that theater and experiencing the entire third act for the first time in my life. It's crazy how, I don't know, how a movie that's that recent can still kind of give me nostalgia in that way.
Yeah, it's from a visual standpoint as well. It's my favorite. It's phenomenal. I know you like when we were rewatching it, you said that you think all the Disney Star Wars have this really great, you know, like visual look, but I think Rogue One is just the, you know, you know, it's just top tier, untouchable, you know, in terms of visual style.
Is Liam going to be controversial with his answer, or is he just... Is he going to say Attack of the Clones?
The Rise of Skywalker is my favorite Star Wars film.
Great answer. Great answer.
I know some people don't like it.
Great movie.
That surprises me. Not because I dislike Rise of Skywalker, but from you, I would have expected an original trilogy answer.
I'm joking.
He's joking, yeah.
Right. No. I know clear. All right, yeah.
A New Hope is my favorite. It's just the perfect adventure story, and I like seeing them all together as well.
Sometimes I think A New Hope might be the better movie. You know, there are so many standout things in Empire which make me prefer it, but I don't know. I can see an argument either way.
Yeah, I feel like objectively, in my opinion, I feel like from looking at just trying to base it on pure merits, I feel like A New Hope is the best one. But for me, Return is just where I'm at, I think.
Yeah. Well, very good, everyone. Thanks for tuning into Cinema Effect this week. Now, whose job should this be now? I feel like Jaden's proven himself in this regard, to be honest.
No, I feel bad taking away from William.
That was still his jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, his job, yeah.
I feel bad about it. You can do it if you want.
Do you want to relinquish it, Fitzy? Is that what you're saying?
No. Oh, I don't care either way.
Okay, well, you better do it then, I guess. What are we watching next week? Remember?
We're watching Nocturne, which is a horror movie, and you can find that one on Amazon Prime, Australia.
Excellent. 2020, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. That's the game. That's the name of the game for me. Get those 2020 movies up. All right, guys. Cheers for joining me as always. Thank you, everyone else. We appreciate you tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.